we'll come into a seated position. I'm going to use my block there. You'll need a decent amount of room to the sides because we're going to be doing sort of various versions of flip dog. Starting off though, we'll just sit up nice and tall. Take a moment to kind of check in, see how we feel, noticing how the body just wants to sit, whether it wants to sit upright or whether there's some tightness in the body. Are you able to relax the hips down, etc. And then think a little bit more about the energy side of your body. How does that feel? Do you feel strong, ready for a challenge, or maybe a little bit depleted? Please take the class at your own pace. Feel free to adapt anything. Keep yourself safe. We'll just allow those shoulders to have some nice little shrugs. We'll take some very simple rolling of the shoulders around, either following the breath or not, really sort of just listening to what feels right to your body. Sometimes you want to do that nice and slow and sort of extravagant movement where you get some flexion into the spine and extension as well, and you can kind of feel it all developing in the body and feeling the muscles running smoothly over each other. And then sometimes you just want to go a little bit faster, so whatever feels right. I'm going to take it in the opposite direction as well. Start off a little more tentatively the first couple of rounds just to make sure the muscles are gliding nicely. In my body, I always find the sort of forwards shrug less intuitive and a little sort of harder. Sort of works on the muscles in a different way. We'll let those relax and take a nice easy twist. I'm just going to go to my left, trying to sit up tall. I want to be conscious of keeping the head in line with the spine, so I'm rotating the whole body around. I'm going to simply look towards that rear shoulder, just a fraction. And then take it around to the opposite side. So just a few breaths. And then coming back through. Allow the arms to come out wide, up towards the sky. Let's breath in. Palms together. Interlace the fingers. I'm going to actually stretch out through the body. So I'm going to really lift myself up out of the pelvis. A little wriggling from side to side, just easing the shoulders up very much around the ears. And then letting them come back down again, those hands on the exhale. I'm going to bring the hands in towards the heart. Allow the wrists to have a little bit of a roll as well. So forearm to forearm. A little bit of a shrug through the shoulders. And just rubbing the forearms up and over each other. So you get this kind of circulating sensation through the wrist. We'll give the fingers a little bit of a shake out. And I'll take the hands together again. Just going to interlace the fingers with the index finger pointing out. Now keeping the hands as close into your body as you can, I'm going to start to inhale up towards the sky with the hands. I'm going to see if I can take that directly above the head and let the eyes follow the hands at the same time. And then on the exhale, you see if I can bring that down. So really exaggerating the breath here. And as the hands come in towards the heart, just dropping the head, so I'm bowing gently. Inhaling up again. And final time. Release the hands out nice and wide. I'm going to come off the blocks, and I'll actually take the block towards the back, just to make it a little easier on my neck for looking towards the clock. So if you don't want to use a block under your head, that's fine. Rolling down onto the floor, I'm going to give the shoulders and the hips a little wriggle out. So just giving the spine a little bit of time to adjust to gravity and sink into the floor. Whilst that's happening, I'll let the knees come in towards the body and just take the hands on top of those knees. I'm going to draw the knees in a little bit as they exhale. Let the knees go out wide, taking the breath in as the knees travel forwards back towards the center line, and then drawing back in again. A little exhale and pulling the tailbone towards me just a fraction. So pulling that tailbone towards me. And starting to activate those core muscles, as well as getting a little bit of juice into the hips and also the shoulders there. Also taking a little bit of movement there. Now I'm going to take the legs the opposite direction. So more subtle flexion and extension through the lower spine. And then I'm going to ease the feet to the floor close to your bottom and draw your left knee in towards your body. And the right leg, knee wants to be pointing up towards the sky rather than rolling out to the side. And I am using the strength of my arms to very progressively draw that knee in towards my body. Now it is sinking out to the side towards the armpit. And I'm going to let that go. Bring both feet back onto the center line close to the body. And do the same with the right leg, just drawing that in. We'll release that leg. We'll take the left leg back in, this time interlacing the hands low down behind the back of the thigh, holding onto that hamstring close to the buttock, extending the left leg up. You're going to draw the hips down and press out through the heel of that left side at the same time. You want to press the leg into the hands, so you want to really get the knuckles to interlace. You're going to feel a big stretch through the shoulders and into the neck, possibly if they're tight, or if you've got short arms, it can also be an effect. But you want to keep the neck nice and long. So if you find your chin moving slowly towards the back of the mat, you want to bring it back into a more neutral position. Just give yourself a little wriggle, use it in. So hopefully feeling a really nice stretch through the hamstrings, feeling the quads contract a little bit in sympathy, feeling the calf and the shin muscles reacting to the extension, the flexion of the foot. Spreading the toes out nice and wide. Last breath in. We'll ease that foot down to the floor and take it into the second side. So remember, the hands are very close down towards your bottom. My wrist is actually pressing into my groin. Remember, we're pressing down and up at the same time. So engaging the core muscles, lower back and belly. And also trying to keep that raised foot aligned to the center line of the mat as well. And we'll use that foot down to the floor. Feet side by side, we'll take the arms out wide, crucifix, the hands in line with the chest, arms up. And we'll let the legs roll over towards the right initially. So seeing if we can get that bottom leg to sink into the ground. Top leg just really floating. If it feels nice in your body to take your right hand on top of your left leg, you can do. But if you want to be more passive and just let it kind of hang in fresh air, that's fine as well. And work out what feels better in your body, in your spine. A relatively short hold there. We'll take the legs back up. Realign if needed. Cross over to the second side. And we'll ease the legs back up. I'm going to draw the legs in towards the body, crossing at the ankles, and bring chest in towards the thighs, chin to chest. Just wrapping the arms around the shins. There's a very gentle rock from side to side on the spine. And I'm going to roll onto my right side. Allow myself to come back up to sitting. I'm going to move the block towards the front of the mat and out towards the front end, so it's not level with the mat, but just ahead. That way I know where it is. Coming up onto all fours, using the front edge of the mat, spreading the fingers out, so little finger and thumb as far apart as you can, just swishing the tail out gently, knees underneath hips. And kind of letting the chest hang down to the floor a little bit. Again, just working into the shoulders in a slightly different way. Now begin cat-cow, so I'm going to lift the body up into more of a neutral position, and then begin to draw the chest forwards and roll the shoulder blades back, tailbone to the sky. On the exhale, just drawing the belly in, letting the head hang and getting that delicious long stretch through the back. Coming forwards again as we breathe in. And exhaling out. I'm going to take the knees wide, sit down onto the heels, keeping the body about halfway up from the floor. I'm not coming down into child's pose yet. I'm going to first of all take a twist. So drawing the left hand underneath, dropping the shoulder and ear to the floor. I'm going to wrap the right arm around the body towards that position where you get your fingers onto your thigh or holding onto the waistband. And then as I exhale, just drawing that right shoulder blade down towards the spine. Coming back into the center a little bit and using that to help open up the chest, the side, and up towards the sky. And release from there. Now just take a moment for the neck and the shoulders to come back into a really sort of nice position. They can take a lot of stress down there. You need it to sort of move out of the body naturally. And then when you feel ready in your own time, just taking the opposite hand under, easing the ear and the shoulder down towards the center line. Once you feel safe, allow yourself to take that left hand up and roll it over, fingers into that right thigh. Take a couple of breaths. And then start to draw that shoulder blade again towards the center line. Open up. And we'll take a final exhale, bringing the hand back. Again, we'll lift up to that halfway point, and then just walk the hands out towards the front of the mat, getting nice and low. I'm going to lift just a fraction so I can guide the hands over towards the right side. I'm going to bring the left hand on top of the right and hopefully have the hands aligned with the crown of the head. A very big side bend leading the body onto that thigh. And then lift the head, keeping the body low, just walking across to the opposite side. This time right hand on top of the left. Hopefully feeling a big stretch underneath the armpits as you breathe in and out. And then we can lift and come back to the center. We'll allow the toes to tuck under and lift into down dog. First down dog of the morning, like any dog. Nice to have a little bit of a sniff and a walk around before he gets onto the business part of the walk. So we're just going to pedal the legs out very gently. You have a feel, just allowing the feet and the plantar fascia to get a little bit of a stretch. Working into the toes as well, saying hello to them. Again, taking some pressure into the shoulders as we lift the hips up and back. And we're coming to a steady position, and we're going to draw the right leg to the sky into a scissor and try to do our best to keep the shoulders and the hips square to the floor. So it's a big lift with this leg. I'm actually going to point out through the toes rather than flex. And just getting into that buttock a little bit on the lift. And then bring that back down to the floor. We'll cross over to the other side. And just easing your way gently. So in your mind's eye, a straight line between the hands, the shoulders, the hips, the knee, and the toes of that lifted leg. Just keeping the body square to the ground. And then we'll bring that foot down to the floor. Allow ourselves to move into plank. We're going to bring the knees down to the floor and just bring the knees together a little bit. Take the feet wide. I'm going to slide that block underneath the sitting bones and sitting into hero's pose. We'll take the arms out wide, scarecrow pose with the hands, palms facing forwards. On the exhale, we'll bring the elbows together and drop the chin in towards the chest. So forearms touch, little finger touches little finger. We'll open the chest and then lift your heart up towards the sky as you draw your elbows back. Let your eyes gaze skywards, so not dropping the head back fully, but beginning to get a little bit more movement into the neck. Drawing the tummy muscles in as well on the exhale, just for a little bit more effect. And we'll open up for the last time towards the sky. Gentle squeeze of those shoulder blades together. Let the arms come down gently. I'll peel a layer off because it's actually got warm in my house, finally, or I've got warm, finally. Not too sure which of that is. And then from here, we're just going to allow ourselves to lift up a little bit, move the block out to the front of the mat, and then bring the heels underneath the sitting bones. So now we're sitting on top of the calves. We'll take the hands back, palms flat to the floor. The chest lifted a little. Again, we're going to keep the chin towards the chest. Start with, and just get that sort of feeling of opening the front of the shoulders, front of the chest muscles, belly's drawn in a little bit. We want to try and lift the spine out of the pelvis a fraction, so the sense of lifting rather than collapsing. Then we're going to take the right hand away from the floor and just swoop that across the body. Now allow yourself to look towards your fingertips of that hand. And as you rotate it towards the back of the mat, over your head, your eyes are going to follow. So that's going to work more into the neck, and then bring the hand back down to the floor. So I want to keep one hand on the ground the whole time. Lean into the opposite side a little and allow ourselves to open up. Taking the opposite hand, just catching the TV behind me. Inhaling up again, the opposite side. Rolling it through. Taking it the left arm. Right arm again. Lifting the chest as much as you can. And then we'll take a final left. Now bringing the hands to the floor, take a breath in and see if you can lift your hips away from your heels. You can extend the crown of your head towards the back of the mat without dropping. Shoulders are away from the ears. You're pressing down through those hands to help lift everything from the floor. And then we'll ease the buttocks back down. Draw the tummy muscles in a little bit. Use the fingers to ease our way back up. We'll come into down dog. And walk the hands immediately in towards the toes. Into our first forward bend. So taking as much bend into the knees as you need. Making sure your feet are hip distance apart if they're not already and parallel to each other. Now sink the bottom down, and ideally you want to get your bottom as low as your knees are in terms of distance from the floor, so your ribs and your thighs are compressed against each other. Now slowly lift the hands away from the ground, palms facing in. So again, trying to get a line between hands, shoulders, and hips. And keep the hips as low as they are, but lift the body away. We're going to come up about halfway. Try and keep the weight into the heels. Use the core muscles to lengthen the body, try and relax the shoulders, taking the hand wider helps. You can keep the knees the same distance apart as your feet. Almost there. Now we'll let ourselves lift up slowly. Breath in and release the hands down by the side of your body. The hands coming towards the heart. I'm going to wiggle the toes together, leaving a gap between the ankle bones. I'm going to soften the knees over the toes and then sit back into that chair. Nice long body. Slowly going to take the right elbow across. And again, lengthen the spine out of the pelvis. Now you can look to the floor. You can look to the side. You can look to the ceiling. But do your best to keep your spine, your neck, and your head aligned to each other rather than dropping down and having a heavy head. Keep it kind of lifted in a neutral position. Last breath in. We'll rotate around to the opposite side. Now, if you enjoy this revolved chair pose and you want to take it into the version where you open the arms out, draw the shoulders round a little bit more, then please be my guest. But it is strong on the shoulders. It's very strong on the thoracic lumbar area as well. So listen to what your body needs. Remember, if you're doing this in the morning, it's going to feel different to the evening. We'll come back out and let the hands come to the floor. Lift the hips up towards the sky. I'm going to press the feet into the floor. Now, strangely enough, it might not seem like a big technical difference, but feet together and feet wide apart, forward bends, do you feel different? So take it easy. Really strong. And last breath here. We'll walk the fingers in towards the front end of the mat. We're going to come back into that down dog shape. Just adjusting the feet, pressing the hip distance apart. Normal sort of down dog stance. I'm going to take a little breath from there. Move that out of the way, fraction. I'm going to take my right foot to the outside of the right hand and then take a right-handed twist towards the sky. Now bring the hand back down to the floor. Step back into down dog. And we'll draw the left knee in and take that to the outside of the left hand. And then the left hand twist up towards the sky. Strong leg, we're dropping the hips in a little bit to the floor, so that back leg is still pressing out. We'll bring the hand down to the ground. And we'll step back. We'll take the right foot out again. This time we'll drop the back knee, untuck the toes. And right hand comes up towards the sky, forwards, first of all, into the twist. We're going to drop the hand behind, lift the toes towards us on that back foot, and bring the heel in towards the buttocks, keeping the chest open. And then release that to the floor. We'll come back into our dog, so lifting the back knee, the hips, sliding back. And we'll take the left foot to the outside, left hand. Drop the knee, untuck the toes. Allow that left hand to come forwards. So you're rotating through the shoulders gently into the twist. Continuing the exhale as the foot comes in, and just using the hand to draw the foot towards the buttock. You can open the chest a little more. Now, if you haven't done a hamstring compression like this for a while, chances are you might get a little bit of cramping, but even if you have, it won't be serious. It will take a day or two for the feeling to disappear. We'll come back into that down dog. And this time we're going to draw the right knee through the body. So bringing the feet and the toes into the line of the fingertips into our lunge. We'll allow ourselves to take the right hand into the twist towards the sky, opening the chest, and then bringing the hand down. We'll take it to the opposite side, which is always a little trickier. So if you bend at the elbow, draw that up towards the sky, and then extend the hand out, it's much softer in the shoulder and the wrist. We'll bring that hand back down, and we'll step back into our down dog. And we'll draw left leg through. Stepping your knee is over your ankle. Planting the right hand, left hand comes into the twist. And ease the hand down to the floor. And take it into the second side. So letting the chest open first, and the arms come second. Ease the hands down to the floor. This time we're actually going to step into the front of the mat, into a forward bend. Let ourselves hang for a moment. And bring the hands onto the hips and lift up. So soft knees, flat backs. As ever, hands come high and in towards the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Step it back into down dog, leading with either leg. That feels natural. Once you've arrived, we'll take a breath in and draw the right foot to the outside of the right hand, drop the back knee down. Now we're actually going to feed the hips back. Pivot on the front heel. It will slide along the mat towards you, sitting onto the heels. Letting the body come high so you can sort of take some of the roundness out of the spine, get a little flatter, draw the belly in, and then press out through the heel of this extended leg, toes up towards the sky. The bottom leg, you're sitting on your heel, hopefully. Feeling the contraction, this thigh draws in towards you as the hamstring lengthens out. We'll ease our way back. Take the hands forwards. We'll lift into down dog. And then take the left foot to the left side. Use the knee down again and tuck toes just for a moment. Give them a little flex. And then the toes tucked underneath. We'll sit back onto the heel. Now it's up to you whether your foot draws down the mat or whether it draws down the side of the mat. Really just depends on what feels more natural to you and the surfaces that you're playing with. And then we'll let ourselves lift back up. We'll come into down dog again. Draw the right foot through to the front of the mat into lunge and step forwards into the fold. Hands onto the hips, we'll lift up. We'll take the hands high on the breath in towards the heart. Soften the knees and down to the floor. Take a breath. Left foot into the lunge. And drop the heel in, ready for warrior two. Bring the hands alongside the body, lifting gently. Going to let the left arm drift forwards and cartwheel into warrior two. We're going to turn the palm in transition through to reverse warrior. So just smoothly moving from one posture to the other. We'll come back into warrior two. Inhale the hands high. Rotate the body gently towards the front of the mat. Down to the floor. Going to lift the heel on the back foot, so then lunge and press gently into that forward bend. Hands come onto the hips, soft knees and flat back to the lift. Inhaling high. Hands through the heart. Exhaling down to the floor. Sending the right foot back this time into the lunge. Dropping the heel in to the center line. Lifting a little. Right arm travels forwards, cartwheel through into that reverse warrior. And back again. Warrior two, hands high. Rotate out towards the front of the mat and down to the floor. We'll step into the lunge and then exhale into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips, we let ourselves lift. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Soften down to the floor. Left foot to the back of the mat. Dropping the heel in. Hands alongside the body. That simple lift, warrior two to reverse warrior. Coming back into warrior two. We'll bring the hands high, but on this occasion they'll come onto the inside of the front leg. Walk the fingers around to the long side. We'll take a little breath, turn the toes in, heels out a little more, and then allow ourselves to fold gently through the hips. And pressing the feet down strong to keep the weight even through the foot, front, back, and sides. Lifting the hips higher, like there's someone holding a belt behind you, lifting you up. Those thighs and hamstrings working together, maybe trembling a little or a lot. So lift up and walk the fingers round to the front end of the mat. Take a little breath in, lunge and step into that forward bend. Hands onto the hips again, we'll lift up. Take the hands high. In through the heart. And exhale down to the floor. Right leg goes back. Heel drops in. Hands alongside. Float. Warrior two into reverse warrior. So working strong through the legs, pressing down. Keep the legs stable. We'll take the hands high. Roll out to the front. And hands on the inside. Walking the fingers to the long side of the mat. We take a little breath here. Turn the toes in, heels out. This time we're going to allow the hands to find the big toes. And interlace the index finger, middle finger around the big toe. Allow yourself to draw the elbows out to help with the forward bend. Still pressing into the feet effectively and the hips high. Try and draw the shoulders and elbows out to the side, let the head hang. And then we'll lift and release. Hands through to the front of the mat. We'll step from the lunge into the forward fold. Bring the hands onto the hips and let ourselves lift up. I'm just going to step back into the front of the mat as I've traveled around a little bit. And then take the hands high on the breath in. Through the heart. And exhaling down to the floor. I'm going to take the left foot back. Drop the heel in. Going to lift into my warrior two. This time take the hands high. Frame the front foot as we come down to the floor. Step it back into down dog. We come into plank, half plank and up dog. So just floating forwards, push through with the tippy toes. Elbows into the ribs, keep it higher than you think you should. And then allow yourself to lift into that up dog, strong legs. Roll the hips back into your down dog. Take a breath in. Draw the left knee in, bring this through. As you exhale, ease into the breath and step forwards into the fold. Hands onto the hips and we lift. Inhale high. Hands through the heart. Exhale to the floor. Breath in. Right leg to the back on the lunge. Dropping the heel in. Hands alongside the body and we float up towards the sky. Turn hands high. Rotate out towards the front of the mat. Bring the front leg. Step it back into the dog. Come forwards into the plank. Half plank. Up dog. Down dog. Take a breath in. Right foot through. Take a breath there. Step it into the forward bend. Hopefully still at the front end of the mat. Hands onto the hips and lift. We'll inhale high. Hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Handing the left foot back, dropping the heel in. Warrior two for the lift. I'm going to extend out over the front leg and straighten that leg at the same time, moving gently towards triangle pose. And ease the hand down. Rather than touching the floor, just letting the hand rest on the inside of that shin. Now soften the front knee, come back into warrior two. Lift the hands high. We're going to come to the inside of the front leg, down to the floor. Pull the fingers around to the long side. We're going to turn the toes outwards. Walking the fingers then towards the back of the mat or on the side. Going to lift the heel from the floor so we can sit onto that heel, pivoting on the front leg with, again, effort pressing out through the heel. And then we'll move carefully to the front end of the mat. Now we're going to lift back to the center so we can be high. Turn the toes in a little bit. Walk the fingers around the front edge of the mat. We're going to step back into down dog, scissoring the right leg to the sky. And turn that into flip dog by slow motion, pivoting on the left side. Bring your right heel in towards your buttock. There's a balance point where one hand and one foot are neither on the floor, and then the chest can open up, keeping the hips pressed towards the ceiling. We'll flip slowly back into down dog and scissor the left leg to the sky. Drop the heel in towards the buttock as we pivot on that right. Ball of the foot out to the side. And again, a nice slow release to the floor, hips high. And then we'll come back and draw the left foot through into the lunge. Take a breath and step into that forward bend. We're going to do the same, but just reverse it to the opposite side. So lifting up first. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Take a breath. Right leg goes back. Heel drops in. We're going to lift into our warrior two. Just pressing down through that front shin. And then slowly, the front leg stretches out. The body extends out over that thigh. One hand comes down, one hand high. You can look towards the floor. You can look towards the side, or you can look towards the ceiling. Try and have the hips a little over the center line of the mat, rather than hanging out to the side. Try to keep soft through the wrists. Now we'll come back into warrior two. Take the hands high. We're going to come on the inside of this front leg. Then we'll walk around to the long side. We're turning the toes out again and just walking the fingers into the back end, sinking down onto that heel, so into that big squat again. We're not going to stay there this time. We're going to rock a few times, coming into the front end of the mat, lifting up as we inhale into the back of the mat, to the front of the mat. We traveled. We lift. Final time towards the back of the mat. And a final time towards the front of the mat. So simply walk the fingers around into the lunge. Allow ourselves to step into down dog scissoring the left leg. Dropping the heel in as we pivot on that right foot out to the side. Slowly easing the foot to the ground and the hand from the floor. Opening the chest. We'll press back into the down dog, just flipping it over. And allow the right leg to scissor. Heel into the butt. Again, we pivot nice and slow. Give your spine time to understand where it's going, as well as your shoulder joints. Inhale back into your down dog. Oops, taking the toes on the radiator this morning. Knee into the chest, the lungs through. Take a breath. A final step into that forward bend, which hopefully feels quite a lot looser now. And then we start hands onto the hips and lifting up. I'll take the hands high. I'm going to step back into down dog and then make our way into Sphinx pose. So easing the fingers to the floor, stepping it back. And we come into plank. Let the knees come to the ground, untuck the toes, sort of roll through a little bit of cobra until the belly comes to the ground, and then just shifting the elbows forwards to get them underneath the shoulders. Nice wide shoulders, belly drawn in, thighs pressing down. Release the body down to the floor. Bring the hands down by the side of the ribs, shoulders back, and then peel away from the floor. Bringing the knees forwards. I'm going to take that block behind, pivot the feet out to the side so that I can sit. Legs out in front, feet together, sitting tall, seated twist. Left leg comes under towards that right hip. Right foot comes over, hind knee. Foot flat to the floor if possible. Pelvis tilts forwards to get the space in the spine and lift. Going to rotate over towards the right side first of all. And then release. Rotating the twist into the opposite side. Again, just using the hands and the arms to help cantilever around. Opening chest up. Shoulder blades can actually squeeze together a little bit as you open the front of the chest. And then we'll come back and take that to the opposite side. So right leg coming under and through. We'll go over to the left to start with, so crossing into the twist. And then rotating across to the open side. Again, just draw the shoulder blades together a little bit in this side. And then we can release from there as well. And I'll put that extra layer back on that I took off earlier. And I'm going to make my way down to the floor. And I'm going to use the block behind the head. It's just that it's easier for me to see the clock out the corner of my eye. So if you prefer not to use a block, that's be my guest time. I'm going to walk the feet in. We're actually going to come into figure 4 pose for a sort of final but one pose. We'll extend the left leg to the sky, turn the toes out, bending the knee on the exhale, dropping the ankle to the outside of the right foot. We'll come on to the tippy toes of the right foot, draw the core muscles down towards the spine and maybe the lower back into the floor as drawing the right leg in using your leg muscles. Left hand comes through the center. Right hand goes around the outside. We interlace the fingers either through the back of the thigh or over the shin. Keep the foot flexed. You can either stay in this sort of first phase, or if you want to, you can start to draw the shoulders back down towards the floor and bring the legs a little closer to you, so you're using the arms and legs in combination. But it's really about how the stretch feels in your hips and your hamstrings, those outer edges of the hip area. So you need to use a strap even around the leg at this point. You could still do so. I'm going to take a partial release of the right foot to the floor and the fingers, keeping the foot in close. And then I'm going to take the arms out wide, crucifix style. Allow myself to shift the hips over to the left a little, and then rotate the hips over towards the right, so that left foot is now on the floor, the knee is high, hopefully a vertical shin. I can press into that foot a little bit to start to feel some outer hip activity on the front area. Take Couple more breaths here. Let ourselves release back up. Realign the spine, extend the leg out. Let it shake. Foot to the floor. We'll take the opposite leg up. Turn the toes out. Bending the knee. Taking a little breath. Tippy toe. Belly drawn in. And then left leg comes in. We compress as much as we can through the leg muscles, and then we can take the hands through. So remember, it's left hand through the center. Sorry, right hand through the center. Left hand around the outside of the left leg. Oh, I couldn't get that right. Now I'm trying to keep the spine very flat to the floor. So that's another thing to look for. Again, that neutral position in the neck. And once your body sort of acclimatizes, you might realize you've got a little bit more potential there. So just drawing the shoulders down towards the floor. Bring the leg a little closer in. It's only millimeters, but can be quite effective. And somewhat amazing that after all of the work we've done, there's still areas that we can find to stretch in that feel like, oh, we haven't done that yet. Again, we're going to release the hands and the foot to the floor, close to the bottom. Arms come out wide. We shift a little towards the right and let the legs roll to the left. Again, just pressing the foot into the floor, the knees skybound, shoulders relaxed. So really from the belly button up, very passive. And the legs and the thighs still working pretty hard. Still got that sort of muscular tremble going on with the top leg a little bit as I press down. Just trying to get the muscles to coordinate and fire. Just developing some neural pathways. And then we'll bring the legs back up. We're going to unravel and bring back to the center. So whatever feels good. And then I'm going to come straight into Shavasana, sliding the heels out towards the corner edges. It's going to be brief. So allow yourself to just wriggle out through the fingers and toes as you close your eyes, licking your lips, and then eventually bring yourself to stillness. And we'll begin to wriggle the fingers and toes again. Breathing a little deeper, coming back into our bodies in the ring. Instinctively stretching out in any way that feels good to you. And sliding the heels along the ground. I'll let the knees drift in towards the body and taking the hands very gently around the shins. Baby rock from side to side. And then when you're ready in your own time, just rolling it out towards the right side. And relaxing into the floor as you turn your chest down. And use your hands to lift all the way back up to sitting. Comfortable position. We can bring the hands in towards our heart, taking a longer breath as we close the eye. Begin to exhale slowly, letting the chin drop, finding your belly drawn to the spine. Follow that bow to the floor, ceiling your practice. As you come back in with the breath, lifting the spine, allow the head to lift, the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed, and see you on the mat again soon.